So this morning at my hotel, I had scrambled eggs for breakfast, and that actually reminded me of a project I did a few years ago. As James said, my background is in innovation management. So I would spend my days with corporate teams, empowering them to develop new products and services. And innovation, by the very definition, is business as unusual, our topic today. As a young professional, I was very eager to develop new products and services and bring that out to the world to really solve problems that matter. A few years down the road, I found myself with my team working on the usability of a scrambled egg machine. That sure was an innovation, it was new, and it did solve the problem of hungry travelers at gas stations. However, I thought it did not really contribute to any larger cause. So that's gone. And I realized something had to change for me personally, but also for businesses. As a society, we glorify innovation, but we often forget to ask about the purpose of those new products and services that we bring into the world. We applaud scale and growth, but we forget to ask about the resources that we need to realize that growth. So I ask myself, how can we actually change that mindset? How can we connect innovativeness not only to financial returns, but also to value for the society and the planet? How can we work differently so that it actually makes a difference? Thankfully, I'm not the only one asking that. This very event and you being here is a testimony of to that. And also my colleagues Artie Wick and Daniel Novak went out and asked 25 CXOs from different multinational companies like Danone, Novartis, Medtronic, Ambev, MAN, and Tata, and 15 investors from also institutions like Allianz, Deutsche Bank, ICCR, BlackRock, Sustainalytics, about their perspective on how to change business for good. Now, those institutions are at various stages within their own purpose transformation between pledges and actions. So what are the ingredients of purpose transformation for big business? The first one is a commitment to internalize impact. Currently, much of the negative impact of current business models is externalized. That means businesses don't have to literally pay for the impact they create on the world. A well-known example is that ExxonMobil would probably go bankrupt within a year if they would have to account for the cost of the carbon emissions they cause at $100 per ton. So corporates are asked to reduce the negative impact on the world that they have with their business model, within their supply chains, within their distribution chains, with science-based targets, and also a redesign towards circularity and regeneration. An even bigger opportunity that is often overlooked is to integrate positive impact. It is to not miss out on the opportunities to solve problems within their own business models and within their own value chains that are previously have been left to philanthropy. So Novartis, for example, who have been part of our study, they, through various social entrepreneurship initiatives, they created a program that's called Access Principles that aims to give access to basic healthcare for the currently 2 billion people on this planet who do not have this. So internalizing impact is actually a huge opportunity for businesses to work towards the SDGs. The second one is a shift from short-termism to long-termism. We all know that the costs of current business models have to be taken by poor people here on our very doorsteps and in the global south. And in the future, the costs will be even higher. By some estimates, in 2050, climate change will cost us 8 trillion. But the main business metric right now are quarterly or annual shareholder value, is shareholder value. So social and ecological problems are often wicked and often very complex. They require a long-term and patient approach to be solved. How can businesses do that? First, by setting long-term strategic goals. Second, by encouraging leaders, but also employees with the right incentives to actually work towards those goals. And third, by curating mission-aligned investors. One famous example is Unilever under Paul Polman, who got rid of quarterly shareholder reporting to actually focus on longer-term goals. And by the way, the CFA Institute in the US estimates that the short-termism costs shareholders, and I have to look at my notes here, $200 billion annually. So there's even something to gain in the traditional business-as-usual mindset here. Oh, going back. The third one is going from silo thinking to a systemic approach. So currently, the silo thinking excludes all responsibility for everything that's not within the silo. That is true within corporations, where often different departments don't work closely together. But that is even more true when you look outside of the company. So, for example, 65 to 90% of carbon emissions are within scope 3. That means they are part of corporate value chains, excuse me, but they don't have to account for that directly. Also, 40 million people today live under modern slavery conditions, men, women, and children. This is happening today, and often they're at the bottom of global supply chains. To solve that, companies have to go beyond competition. An example of that is the Imagine Foundation, founded by, again, Paul Polman and Valerie Keller, who bring together more than 25% of a given industry's CEOs to solve together, to collaborate, to solve that industry's major problems. But we also need to go, or companies also need to go beyond their own industry and involve other stakeholders. A great example of that is Essilor's iMitra initiatives. It's actually the world's biggest rural optical network, and it distributes what is for many their first pair of glasses in the global south. And to do that, Essilor partners with local governments, foundation, NGOs. That is different in every geography and every location that they are active, but they actively build those partnerships to distribute those glasses to the people in need. So what can leaders actually do to transform their company towards that purpose mindset? First of all, purpose is not something that you add to your portfolio. It's not a department. It's not something that somebody has the sole responsibility for, but it's a mindset and an attitude that is embedded in everything that the company does. And I don't expect you to be able to read that. That is part of our upcoming playbook for corporate leaders that actually helps people to embed those 3 components of the mindset that I just mentioned into every function inside their company. It is also not a linear process. It's ongoing, it's interdependent, and it's reinforcing itself. You can start, or company and leaders can start at different points there. So, for example, Unilever famously started with revamping and reiterating their purpose statement, and from there developed a strategy how to distribute it throughout the organization. Novartis, that I mentioned before, they started with corporate social entrepreneurship activities, actually building examples, learning from them about the value that they can provide for their customers and future customers, and then developing a strategy from that. So, again, this is not for you to read here, but this shows that successful companies who are successfully transforming toward purpose, they start somewhere, but they do not stop there. It goes through the whole company. And that, to me, is the best message here. Everybody can and should be a part of that. Yes, leaders have to set the stage, but everybody can take it from there and own it. Everybody can be a social entrepreneur. No matter what your function within the organization is, everybody can create a difference on that transformation towards purpose. Social entrepreneurs For us, are corporate employees who solve real social and environmental problems using the assets of the company they work for. So they actually generate value for the company, but also for society and the planet. And again, you can read all of that in our upcoming playbook. No need to focus on the small print here. So big corporations are often scolded for their harmful business model, and rightly so. However, I believe they are also in a unique position to actually turn the tide and effect change in a big way. The actual size is testimony to the fact that they have done something right in the past, and they can do it again under new circumstances, and they can even create new circumstances. They already have a large customer base, they already have a supply chain network, they have a distribution network, and most important of all, they have a large base of talented and motivated employees. That's the main asset. Business model can change, and they will change, and those who start now have an advantage later. Leaders have the responsibility to focus on impact, internalize it, to take a long-term perspective, to engage the ecosystem, and to create a system and an environment for social entrepreneurs so that they can then create solutions for those who are most in need and for the business they work for. So here I am. I still work in innovation management for big corporations because I still believe in the power of new ideas, and I also still believe in the power of corporations to sell them, to scale them, and to sell them. And every time I have an egg, I'm reminded of that now. Thank you very much.